In the quiet halls of the castle, Commander Lizzie of the Cavalry's Order walks with purpose, his silver armor clanking with each step. His expression is tense as he approaches the guards standing watch outside a grand set of doors. They are surprised to see him, one of them calling out, "Commander." Lizzie, without breaking his stride, asks about the Lord's whereabouts. The guard reports that the Lord is still sleeping. Ignoring protocol, Commander Lizzie bursts into the Lord's chambers. The sudden noise startles Count Cavalry from his sleep. The Count sits up abruptly, confusion and alarm on his face. He sees his commander. "Leslie, what is going on?" he exclaims. Standing before the bed, Commander Leslie delivers the grave news. "It's an emergency, my lord," he says, his voice low and urgent. "They've broken into the castle." Count Cavalry's face hardens with shock and disbelief at the report. Outside the castle walls, the chaos of a full-scale invasion unfolds. Under the cover of night, the Fenris army descends from the sky in large fire-powered spheres, bypassing the fortress's primary defenses. On the battlements, the cavalry soldiers are caught completely off guard as the invaders land among them, leading to a swift and brutal clash. Figures like Belinda move with deadly grace, cutting through the defenders, while the red-haired mercenary fights with a wild grin. He bellows at his comrades, "Go, you lot, go tear off the last ear flap from that rum-faced lord." Back in the Lord's chambers, Count Cavalry, still reeling from the news of the infiltration, demands answers. How did the men of Fenris get over the walls? What about the tunnels? Commander Leslie relays the information he has received from the frantic reports. According to the soldiers' reports, they rode an unidentified sphere and flew through the sky. The explanation is so outlandish that the Count can only stare in utter disbelief. "Flew through the sky," he shouts, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and confusion. "What on earth are you saying, Leslie?" Commander Leslie cuts through the Count's panicked questions, stating that how the enemy entered no longer matters. The enemy's momentum is too strong, and they are seizing the castle rapidly, he explains with grim urgency. "You must move at once." Ghislaine outlines a desperate plan. He will use an underground passage to reach the outer wall and hold the gate, which should buy enough time to summon the main force from the south gate and encircle the invaders. The strategy does little to calm Count Cavalry, who is now sweating profusely. He mutters in disbelief about the traps they had set for the enemy's tunnels. Realizing they must have fallen for a decoy, the weight of the situation crashes down on him. "Why fortress that has never fallen, not even once," he laments, his face contorted in fear and despair. "Are you saying the cavalry line will end with me?" As the Count spirals into a panic, Ghislaine grabs him firmly by the shoulders, forcing him to focus. "My lord, escape through the secret passage with the retainers and seek aid first," the commander orders with unwavering resolve. "I will remain and defend the castle." Ghislaine's gaze hardens as he considers the worst-case scenario. If, despite all this, the situation does not improve, he trails off. A look of grim understanding flashes in his eyes as he deduces the enemy's true objective. "Bring that fellow out," he commands. Elsewhere in the castle, the fighting has already begun. Cavalry soldiers, caught by surprise, react with confusion and alarm. "It's an attack," one shouts, another demanding how did they possibly get in. Their questions are answered not with words, but with swift, brutal violence. A dark, hooded figure, Ghislaine, materializes in their midst, his sword glowing with a menacing purple energy. He moves with blinding speed, a whirlwind of death cutting through the armored soldiers. His blade slices through steel and flesh alike, leaving a trail of fallen defenders in his way. The soldiers' screams are cut short as Ghislaine carves a path forward, his assault relentless and unstoppable. The surviving soldiers are paralyzed by fear at the sight of the single warrior's overwhelming power. A squad leader desperately tries to rally his men. "What's with you lot? Hit a grip, there's no time to panic. Fire now," he yells, pointing out that their assailants appear to be few in number. Just as he gives the command, one of his men looks upward in terror, stammering, "Squad leader, up there." The leader glances up, his face shifting from command to confusion. Before he can process the warning, a colossal object smashes down from above, obliterating the squad leader and his men in a devastating impact that shakes the very floor of the castle. As the dust and debris begin to settle, two figures are revealed in the crater. Afoy, looking thoroughly annoyed, is pushing himself off the back of a massive armored warrior. "Gordon, you stupid muscle pig," Afoy scolds. "I told you not to ride me, saying I'm heavy." Gordon, pinned beneath him, can only groan in response. The few remaining cavalry soldiers, seeing the newcomers, charge forward with a desperate cry. Their bravery is sure, lived as they are instantly cut down by a volley of crossbow bolts and swift blades from other soldiers who appear from the shadows. With the immediate threat neutralized, Ghislaine, Kar, and Belinda join their comrades. Gillian looks down at Gordon with a smirk, commenting, "Gordon, even as a knight, you still act the same." Ghislaine turns his attention to the disheveled Alfoy and asks, "Are you hurt?" Alfoy simply lets out a dry laugh as he brushes himself off. As the group gathers, Belinda's eyes widen slightly, her expression turning to one of surprise as she notices something just out of view. From the ramparts, the shouts of cavalry soldiers echo through the night. "Hold the gate. The enemies have breached the interior. Their forces are already scrambling into a defensive formation." Observing this from a distance, Kara remarks with a hint of surprise, "What? Have they already assumed a defensive posture?" Ghislaine watches the organized response intently. Their response is faster than expected, he notes, concluding there must be a sharp commander among them. Internally, he feels the pressure of the clock ticking. The enemy forces they lured away with the tunnel decoy would be regrouping soon. "We must hurry," he thinks to himself. Turning to his assembled team, Ghislaine's voice is calm as he prepares to issue his next command. "Everyone ready?" Ghislaine's voice was commanding. A unified yes came from his elite soldiers. He quickly delegated tasks. Stop the soldiers on the walls and destroy all siege engines. Belinda, find Count Cabaldi. Both acknowledged their orders without hesitation. With the plan in motion, Ghislaine declared his own objective. "I'll break a path to the gate." His gaze intensified, his blue eyes glowing from beneath his hood as he looked to his troops. "Ray." In response, they raised their swords in unison, each blade igniting with a brilliant blue aura, ready to carve a path through any who stood in their way. A thunderous ready erupted from the finless order of knights as they stood prepared, their swords held high and pulsating with a powerful blue light. Ghislaine looked upon his forces with a slight, confident smile. Finless order of knights, he thought, a silent acknowledgement of their strength and loyalty. With his sword resting on his shoulder, he gave the final, simple command. "Begin." At his word, the elite unit surged forward as one, a dark tide of armored warriors flowing through the castle courtyard towards their objective. Waiting for them was a solid line of cavalry soldiers, their silver armor gleaming under the night sky. A lookout spotted the incoming charge and yelled to his commander, "Commander, they're coming." Commander Leslie, standing at the front of the defensive line, watched the advance. His eyes narrowed as he instantly grasped their strategy. "So, they were aiming for the gate," he murmured to himself. Without a moment's hesitation, he raised his own sword, and bellowed the order to his men. "All units, spears up. Stop them," Commander Leslie commanded, his voice cutting through the sounds of the approaching enemy. He rallied his troops, ordering them to hold a line until the main force from the south gate arrived. The cavalry soldiers braced themselves. A wall of spears pointed at the charging Finless army. The clash was immediate and brutal. The Finless knights, their mana-infused blades glowing menacingly, crashed into the spear wall. The carefully formed defense shattered on impact. Steel splintered, and soldiers fell as the attackers carved through the line with devastating efficiency, their movements a blur of deadly precision. Commander Leslie could only watch in shock as his heavy infantry line was torn apart in seconds. A cold dread washed over him as he saw the truth of the battle. Each and every weapon is infused with mana, he thought, his eyes wide with disbelief. The terrifying implication hit him with the force of a physical blow. "Are you saying every intruder is a knight?" Even as Leslie processed the impossible reality of an entire enemy force of knights, he knew something else was wrong. But no matter how many are knights, they can't push through a heavy infantry line this fast, he thought, his gaze scanning the chaotic battle. His eyes locked onto the source of the breach, the hooded figure at the vanguard, Ghislaine, who moved with an unparalleled destructive force. A grim realization dawned on the commander. "The one at the front, we must stop that man." Just then, one of his subordinates rushed to his side, his voice strained with panic. "Commander Leslie, their momentum is too strong. The outer wall forces cannot hold. Destroy it," Leslie commanded, his voice cold and resolute. When the soldier hesitated in confusion, Leslie clarified, "Destroy all the mechanisms that open and close the gate." With the desperate order given, he turned his full attention back to the battle. "I'll buy us time." With a surge of his own energy, Commander Leslie stepped forward, positioning himself directly in the path of the relentless attacker. Ghislaine, carving a path through the remaining soldiers, was met by the cavalry commander. Their blades collided in a brilliant flash of blue and white energy, the force of the impact sending shockwaves through the battlefield. As the two commanders finally faced each other, the courtyard became the stage for a fierce duel. Ghislaine and Commander Leslie exchanged a series of blindingly fast strikes, their mana-infused blades clashing with explosive force. Leslie, with years of experience, fought with precision and power, but he found himself constantly on the defensive against Ghislaine's relentless and aggressive assault. Each parry sent a jolt through Leslie's arms. He countered with a powerful overhead slash, but Ghislaine deflected it with ease and pressed his attack. The sheer force behind Ghislaine's blows was overwhelming. In a powerful exchange, Leslie was thrown back, his armored boots scraping against the stone as he struggled to maintain his footing. For a brief moment, the two stood apart, the ground around them scarred by their battle. Ghislaine remained poised, his glowing blue eyes fixed on the commander, ready to continue his inexorable advance. With renewed determination, Commander Leslie planted his feet firmly on the ground. "I am Commander Leslie of the Cavalry Order," he stated, his voice ringing with authority and defiance. He channeled his aura into his blade, causing it to shine with an intense, brilliant light. "You shall not pass from here." As the commanders faced off, a heavy rumbling sound echoed from deep within the castle. Down in the dungeons, a heavy iron gate was being raised. Count Cabaldi stood before a dark cell, his hand resting on the cold metal. Inside, a man with dark hair sat chained to the wall. The Count looked at him with a grim and desperate expression. "Lucas," he said, his voice low and urgent. "You must stall them." Lucas remained silent for a long moment, his eyes reflecting the dim light of the dungeon as he processed the Count's plea. Slowly the faint, confident smirk formed on his lips. He looked down at the heavy manacle locked around his wrist, his fingers closing around the cold iron. With a calm, almost mocking tone, he looked back towards the Count and asked, "Why not loosen this?"